All right, guys, day one of Oshkosh here. This gentleman right here is the man who's responsible for getting me behind the radio, and now, thanks to him, on a camera here with the announcer's booth, this is Jim Gray.
Hello.
So what are we going to be doing in a couple minutes?
We're going to be talking on from the stand. It's a show on EAA Radio 96.5 and also EARadio.net year-round, by the way, so you can listen to our content that we produce here year-round. But we're going to get you up on the stand. We're going to get you on the world's largest PA system. I don't know if you knew this.
I did not know that.
This
no.
PA system runs the entire length of 1836, and it's the longest PA system in the world. So
love it.
Well, we're going to get you on the PA system here, talk to all of the attendees, plus we're going to get you on the air and on our YouTube channels. This will be streamed live on our YouTube channels, YouTube/EA Radio, and let people know about Flighttest.
I love it, love it. So Jim has been so gracious here. We get to talk about Flighttest today. We talk about the FTCA. We got to get to unpack all the great things going on with Flighttest in the community. Can't thank you enough.
No problem.
Awesome.
Happy to do it.
Upstairs for more from the stand.
Well, joining us right now is Josh Bixler, who's the president of Flighttest. And if you haven't heard of Flighttest, well, you don't spend a lot of time on the internet. You've got almost 2 million subscribers on YouTube.
2 million family members, my friend. Yeah, they're incredible.
It's amazing. Well, tell us a little bit about your background first. You're a longtime AirVenture
oh my goodness.
attendee.
Some of my earliest memories were out here at Oshkosh, and some of the most shaping memories for me, matter of fact. I grew up in Ohio on a little tiny airport. My dad flew a BC-12D in the backyard, and earliest memories I have is walking down with him holding my hand and holding down on those heel brakes while he yelled, brakes in contact. And it really shaped my life in a powerful way. Moving forward, aviation's been in our blood, model aviation specifically, and my dad impacted me in a real powerful way by not only teaching me the disciplines of flight, but also the joys that can be had in creating things that will take flight through model aviation.
So tell us when the formal, I guess, plan came together for Flighttest.
Yeah, great question. My wife and I led a flying ministry that was focused on getting parents and kids engaged in a common hobby. We oftentimes believe that the hobby should be meant to connect people, not to escape. And we saw lots of parents having difficulty connecting with their kids. And the tool that my dad used was model aviation. So I started designing airplanes out of simple, common, everyday materials. So when someone said it was too expensive, it was too complicated, it was going to crash, I said, it's not too expensive, it's not too complicated, and enjoy the crash, embrace it, because it's going to make you a better builder and pilot. From that point on, an amazing gentleman named Chad Capper came along and says, hey, I want to put a video around this, and my only stipulation is that it remain family friendly and approachable for everybody.
And that's what I like about your approach, is that it is inclusive, not exclusive. And sometimes we in aviation can be a little snobby, which is great to see you pulling people together, especially families.
Well, thank you. We want to overcome those hurdles. Everyone has a dream. I mean, everyone can relate to gravity. If I jump off this beautiful balcony, I know exactly what's going to happen. When you can teach a young child that they can overcome that with their bare hands, something switches in their mind. There's a passion that's ignited. And what I love about flight is it's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. And whether it's a rubber band powered airplane all the way up through professions in aviation, it can be a lifestyle for the whole family. So if a child and a family can connect around this, it's not something that one's the observer, one's the executioner. It's something that they can all enjoy. Husband, mom, father, son, daughter, everybody. And it's truly life-changing.
Tell us a little bit about your kits that you have available. There's a wide variety.
We put out. We were putting out about one a month. Now we're putting about 4 every 6 weeks, and that's ranging from planes that can be built in about an hour, all the way to planes that take about maybe a day and a half. But they have the scale detail of what you typically see in balsa wood. They're made out of a material called foam board, and foam board is easily purchased at any dollar store. We use common everyday materials so people can feel it's not only affordable, but it's approachable. It's like I've worked with this stuff. I did a science fair project, and it's like arts and crafts time, but during that time that they're building, they're learning principles of flight. They're learning about how airfoils work. They're learning the uniqueness of what happens when you combine an undercambered wingtip with a Clark Y center section, and oh my gosh, you have a plane that doesn't tip stall, and just amazing things like that. So we use common everyday materials, so that way no one ever needs to go to expensive hobby shop to get in a hobby. Also, when they crash, and they can repair it, which makes them a better builder at the same time.
So aside from the foam board kits that you have, what other what other things do you have?
Well, Flighttest
moving
started.
up?
Yeah, great question. Flighttest started as a YouTube channel. We were kind of like MythBusters and Monster Garage, but with aviation. And from that point on, the kids came in. The projects are really, our goal was to inspire them through the content, and then to equip them within the hobby, and then hopefully push them into a lifestyle, a career path. Even I always tell kids, make your passion your profession. Take what God put in your heart and do it every day of your life. And you're going to work so hard, but it's going to be so fulfilling. Recently, as we've come up closer to that 1.9, 2 million subscriber mark, we've put a lot of heart into now taking our communities that know the ecosystem of Flighttest. They know how to do the build nights. They know how to train each other. They know how to do the outreach and equip families to get in this hobby. We're now putting a formal setting called the Flighttest Community Association, and that's our, as the government calls it, the new CBO, community-based organization. And that serves a couple purposes. It's not just to meet the regulations and the needs so we can continue to enjoy the hobby, but it's also to equip people and to energize people. I always said that in the early days we had fans, then it turned to a community, then that community turned into a family. I want to see it become a movement, and that's not done through this knucklehead being on YouTube every day. It's done through families actually reaching out within their community and saying, let's have a build night. Let's go ahead and change lives of others. Let's go into schools. Let's go into churches. Let's go into boys and girls clubs and have these activities that are so simple to do.
How are you working to connect those people to build that community?
We live in a really great age where we have everything digital. There's social media, and it's funny because I want people to connect physically, but we can still use these tools to connect them digitally. People oftentimes think of groups and clubs as synonymous. I don't agree with that. What a group is basically going to be through the FTCA is a group of people that will gather, and those people will do those activities together. So you could have an FTCA group actually using a model air club field and getting along great. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to complement and also plug the holes that are kind of in aviation as we see it. I don't want to take a young child and give them a great experience and say, okay, that was your experience, good luck in the future. I want to equip them to go home so their parents can recognize that passion. We have a FT STEM program that's been out for 4 years now. We have 3,000 kids currently in the classroom, not even counting the homeschoolers, that are actively doing aviation-based curriculum from K through 12. These kids are going on to be actual pilots, to be career pilots, to be maintenance techs, to serve in our military. And I love hearing their stories at Flightfest every year when all the families come out and they're like, hey, by the way, I'm a CFI, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm finishing off my private pilot's license in a little Ronca 7AC that I own. I have these kids coming that got in the hobby through Flighttest, and they're like, hey, Josh, I can help you finish your rating. What a blessing.
Absolutely. Josh Bixler, who's the president of Flighttest. You can tell he's very passionate about aviation and the community. And tell us about the Flightfest itself.
Flighttest is incredible. Typically, people think when you have a flying event that you come out, you bring your toys, you fly your toys. If they break, you go home sad. It's completely the opposite. Flightfest, we have these build tents. There's 3 of them this year, 140 by 40 feet long, tables, hot glue guns, electric power, and then families will just collapse on these things. And we have free foam for kids to use. We have seminars going on, much in the spirit of what I was impacted by here at Oshkosh, where there's workshops that you could learn. These kids go in and these families go in, they build these projects, and then they go right out to the flight line, and there's a friendly volunteer in an orange shirt. They do a safety inspection, and they say, hey, how new are you? How much help do you need? And they assess them right then, and they say, okay, let's get your plane in the air, or let's go ahead and give you lessons. It's incredible. We can take someone in one weekend, which typically would take 3 years, where we can take them from knowing nothing to building, flying, understand the safety, understand the principles of flight and where you should and shouldn't fly. And by the time they go home, they're fully equipped to enjoy the hobby as an entirely new family around a common activity. One thing we also do is something called combat, where these kids will design these amazing contraptions, and we put them out far away on the line, and we'll send up about 150 planes in the air. Last one flying wins, and they don't mess around with these. I built a couple planes that we call juggernauts, thinking I'd win. It's always a 9 or 10-year-old kid that takes me out, and he does a really good job doing it.
Amazing. And with Flightfest and it just struck me as you were talking about it, once you've taken someone from the absolute newbie to a family that can go home and do it, then they in turn can share that with their
100%.
their network as well. And it is kind of an amazing journey.
We've had where families they call each other neighbors across the table and stuff, but they've gotten in the hobby, and then they bring more of their family out the next day, and then more the next day, and more the next day, where eventually there's a whole row of tables of nothing but families and neighbors and friends. And we've been blessed. This year was a little difficult with getting people from out of the country. We still had it, but typically we'll have well over 1,000 pilots, and we'll have about 7,000 people attend these events in about 11 different countries represented in the little town of Malvern, Ohio. It's pretty heartwarming.
Sounds a little bit like the little town of Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Amen. Amen. Yes, this place I cannot express. I mean, what an honor it is to sit here watching these airplanes land while I'm talking to you, and to know where this was a lot of the spark that really sealed it. You know, with EAA, the beauty is not just taking flight, but it's building your own aircraft. It's Experimental Aircraft Association. That still lives in my heart. I want people to dream not just with building a model airplane, but someday building their own in real life, because that is really where the ingenuity comes. Just imagine if people weren't building in the back garage, where would all this innovation go? You know, it wouldn't be there.
Exactly. A little earlier, you mentioned something about working with the government. What kind of regulations or roadblocks do you see in the future?
Yeah, there's been current regulations that have been passed down over the past 3 years with remote ID, with safety knowledge tests, and one thing, you know, whenever you get in the hobby, safety is usually the very first thing. I remember my very first flight experience with an instructor. The first thing he did was a pre-flight. Safety was breeded into the activity. With model aviation, you got that activity through a relationship, through a local model club, but now that's all been changed because you can get in the hobby in a digital world. You can go to Best Buy. It doesn't take away the need for having a mentorship program, and with the government's new requirements through like the trust testing, remote ID, safety guidelines where you can and can't fly, and using like things like the Lance, there's a big challenge to basically educate people at the same time. But also, I'm really passionate about keeping this free and accessible, because if you make this too restrictive, you're going to cause people not to be able to comply, but you're also going to cause this amazing activity to go away, and all the careers, all the opportunities to use aviation to benefit people goes away with it.
In the about minute or so we've got left, any final thoughts or observations that you've made so far?
I'm so thankful. One of the biggest things I'm eager to do this week is really connect a lot of people. Education in the classrooms is an amazing thing when you bring aviation into the mix, because it's something that the kids can learn in the classroom, they can get passionate about, but then they can take it home to their families. Our goal with Flighttest and the FTCA is to take our K-12 curriculum and really make it a tool for not only us to use, but hopefully many other companies, schools, to be able to use as a tool to, you know, kind of fill those holes of how do we get kids passionate about this? How do we break those blocks in people's minds to get them to dream bigger and do bigger? And so that's really on my heart. Along with that, I'm out here with my family. Can have some good memories.
Good. And if folks want more information, or they want to get involved, want to watch some of the videos, where do they find
it's
you?
YouTube, Flighttest, and then also we have flighttest.com, and then the FTCA is flighttest.com-ftca.com.
Excellent.
Right, thank you so much.
Josh, thanks for being here. I'm Steve Buss, and this is EAA Radio.
All right, friends, we just finished up with the meeting. We're just about back to our campsite. Huge thanks to Jim Gray and the great folks at the EAA Radio here. We're going to be doing interviews all through the week here, talking about different aspects, whether it's Flighttest, FTCA, FT-STEM, and how all that works together. Along with that, this trip is a little bit unique because we're not so much doing content for the main channel. What we're really doing now is spreading the message of what FTCA is, where we want to go, and how we need partners to basically come alongside and help us with that vision. AirVenture is an awesome place. If you guys have not been here before, it is incredible, life-changing, especially with the whole family. Make sure you make a point to go out there, and also check out the links below for EA Radio and all the other great people that have been helping us make these interviews and these opportunities possible. We'll see you later.